South African comedian Trevor Noah says, "People always lecture the poor. Take responsibility for yourself. Make something of yourself. But with what raw materials are the poor to make something of themselves?" People love to say, "Give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime." But what they don't say is, "And it would be nice if you gave him a fishing rod." That's the part of the analogy that is missing. We come from many places, carrying our own stories, histories, experiences, and ancestors. Today, each one of us attends this service in a location whose traditional people have their own stories, histories, experiences, and ancestors. There were people before us. Their thriving, their suffering, their lessons, their cultures predate us. And whether we are aware or understand, the experiences of those who went before have shaped us, shaped our reality, shaped our inheritance, shaped our lives. May we be mindful, growing in knowledge, self-awareness, and understanding. May we be in respectful relationship with both the beautiful and the troubling pasts of the lands that we inhabit. May we be in respectful relationship with the truth of what continues as a reflection of many lifetimes in the sacred crucible of both generational wisdom and generational trauma. May we situate ourselves with an honest revelation of the histories of all the ancestors, the traditional people of our current locations, the generations who shaped each of our own personal cultures, the ancestors of survivors, and the lineages, languages, and holy truths that have been lost. May we honor the wisdom that has been preserved, restored, and reimagined. And may we grieve all that has been, all that continues to be destroyed or disrupted through arrogance, dominance, or dominion over another. We are called to serve life and justice by helping where we are invited and able in ways that we are welcome, by respecting both independence and interdependence, by learning and growing and honoring the self-determination of all people, even and perhaps especially when it is a challenge to our own understanding and desire.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no care of and of despair. Come, yet again come, adapted from Sufi mystic Jalaluddin Rumi. When Rumi was just a small boy, he had to flee his homeland because of political unrest and impending war, and so he traveled with his family to what at the times would have felt like the other ends of the earth. He settled down in the city of Konya, where he grew up to become a religious teacher to people of many traditions, but deeply grounded in his Sufi Muslim faith. As we sing the song of welcome and invitation, let's remember that it was written by an immigrant. It was written by a Muslim political refugee, someone fleeing violence and seeking out a community of love and security. Let's welcome each other into this space of love and safety, and think also of those who are still on the journey. We're going to try with a slightly different rhythm. Here we go. Come, come, whoever you are, wander, worship, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wander, worship, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wander, worship, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come yet again, come. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart, one more, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. Come, come, whoever you are, wander, worship, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come yet again, come. Come yet again, come. Come yet again, come.
I want to light this chalice today in gratitude. In gratitude for the many people here and all elsewhere who do everything they can to make our world a better place. Children who in their young age, in sometimes their unfiltered questioning, transform the world. Let's be grateful for all of those. I also like this chalice in hope. Hope that things will be made different, improved by all our efforts, so that our sadness will not remain the same. Though our longing for peace may continue to move us towards a more peaceful world, a more equitable world, a more just world.
One profound blessing of meaningful community is that we help one another to reflect, to make sense, and to provide support around life's gifts and challenges. When we suffer or struggle or experience loss, our companions help and hold us. When we make progress toward a goal or intention, have an achievement or a transformation to celebrate, our community shares in these precious moments. When we work together in service of hope, peace, equity, and a just world, when we strive to learn and grow by making meaningful changes in ourselves and in the world, when we help one another and we become partners in both care and accountability, then there is support through the heartbreaks so we don't feel alone or helpless. Champions for the forward motion so that the work continues. Co-conspirators for the adventure of daring to believe, and companions wherever the journey leads. We are each keepers of the light. May we hold and share this honor with reverence and with joy.
There are days when you're tending the embers, when the flame flickers down to a spark, when the shadows grow long in your wilderness, when it's hard to be strong, just remember this. Keep it alight, keep it alight, the light of love that shines inside you. Keep it alight, burning and bright. Keep it alight, keep it alight, keep it alight, keep it alight. Keep it alight, keep it alight, keep it alight, keep it alight. There's a flame that sustains love and justice. Everyone holds it here in the heart. It can carry us through from birth till death. It is kindled anew with every breath.
This is a story about saying something when things aren't right. Some of you might have experienced this. You might have been to a march with a parent where you've held signs, or you might have seen something with friends or seen something in the classroom that you knew wasn't okay, and you might have spoken up. And this is about two kids named Bukuru and Toyi who did just that. So Bukuru and Toyi lived in Africa, in a poor country called Burundi. And they lived in a small hut with a few rooms and a thatched roof. And they spent their days running around outside in the sunshine with one another, tending to their family's herd of cows. One morning, almost 10 years ago, they were out in the field in the middle of the day, and they saw a group of men arrive in cars. The men had guns, and they had a man with them who looked like maybe he didn't want to be there. Talking quickly, they ushered this man into the hut and closed the door. And that man was indeed their prisoner. In fact, he was a Unitarian minister by the name of Reverend Mubutsa Ndadijimana. We'll call him Mubutsa. And he was the minister of the Unitarian Church of Burundi at the time. And the Unitarian Church of Burundi had been doing what many churches here in North America do. They had been seeing something that was happening around them, and they had been speaking up. The kids didn't know about any of that, of course, but they did know something wasn't right. So at lunchtime, they went to the local police station and they explained what they had seen. And so the police arrived at the hut just as the men were taking Mubutsa outside, telling him that they were going to kill him. And the police stopped them, and they took everybody back to the police station, and they sorted it all out. And Reverend Mubutsa tells me that he believes if it weren't for Bukuru and Toyi speaking up, he wouldn't be alive today. So things weren't super easy for Mubutsa even after that day. Soon after, he was arrested and he was sent to prison. And again, people spoke up for him. Unitarians from all around the world, kids too, wrote letters and signed petitions and made phone calls. Mubutsa knew about all of this. He was allowed visitors, and the visitors would bring him copies of the letters and a copy of the petition that was circulating. And Mubutsa would look at all of the names and he would think, I don't know any of these people. Why are they working so hard to save me? He realized that this is what it means to share a religion. His church had gotten in trouble for defending our shared UU values, and so we were defending them. And what did Mubutsa imagine every night trying to sleep in that prison, to stay brave? He thought about us. He thought about us working to help, and the symbol that he pictured when he thought about us was a flaming chalice. Mubutsa was released after 9 days. Again, he had been saved by people who said something. Knowing he would be arrested again, he had to flee the country. He didn't even have time to get his toothbrush. He didn't have time to say goodbye to his parents. He made it to Canada, where he lives now with his wife and his son, and now he works to help the people he was forced to leave behind. And he was not forgotten, and so now he doesn't forget others. And the name of the charity that he uses to help people is Flaming Chalice International. So when you see a flaming chalice, think of all the ways that we are interconnected. Think of Mubutsu's story, and of Bukuru and Toyi, who spoke up and who saved someone's life.
Hi, this is Reverend Joanna Lubkin, coming to you from Boston, Massachusetts, with a song called There Are More Waters Rising by Sarah Lynch Thomason. Let's learn it. I'll sing a line and invite you to sing it back at home. It goes like this. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. Let's do that. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. Good. There are more waters rising, they will find their way to us. Let's do that. There are more waters rising, they will find their way to us. Good. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. Just like the beginning. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. Good. The song repeats a bunch. You'll catch on. Add harmonies, add some body percussion, tapping, snapping along. Okay, so let's sing. There are more. There are more waters rising, this I know. This I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. There are more waters rising, they will find their way to us. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. More fires burning. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. There are more fires burning, they will find their way to us. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. More people hungry. There are more people hungry, this I know, this I know. There are more people hungry, this I know. There are more people hungry, I will find my way to them. There are more people hungry, this I know, this I know. There are more people hungry, this I know. But you know what? We will wade through the waters. We will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. We will wade through the waters, this I know. We will wade through the waters when they find their way to us. We will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. We will wade through the waters, this I know. We will walk through the fires. We will walk through the fires, this I know, this I know. We will walk through the fires, this I know. We will walk through the fires when they find their way to us. We will walk through the fires, this I know, this I know. We will walk through the fires, this I know. We will break bread together. We will break bread together, this I know, this I know. We will break bread together, this I know. We will break bread together, feeding every type of hunger. We will break bread together, this I know, this I know. We will break bread together, this I know. We will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. We will wade through the waters, this I know. Just that end again. We will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. We will wade through the waters, this I know. One more time. We will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. We will wade through the waters, this I know.
When my friend Celeste joined our congregation in Saskatoon 10 years ago, I was one of the committee members charged with orienting him to our congregation. Celeste grew up in the Maasai tribe in Kenya. He grew up exactly as many generations of Maasai before him did. No English, no reading, no writing, no electricity, unlimited exercise, time with friends, fresh air and sunshine. In early adulthood, he fell in love with a Canadian who was visiting, and they had a family, and that's how he came to be in a church in the snowy depths of Canada, where he and I became friends. I remember at the newcomer dinner when he was joining our church, knowing that reading was a bit of a challenge for him, I went over some of the parts of the presentation, in specific, the chart of how our church works. I felt it was really important that he be well informed about our governance. He looked carefully at the chart for a long time, and he listened to my explanation. And then he shook his head and he said, "No." I said, "Really? This is how we make decisions?" He said, "No, usually the mothers make decisions while you are watching the children and talking." I said, "No, we don't." He said, "I have seen you doing it." I said, "There's also this." And he looked at it for a bit longer, and then he said slowly, "This looks like a lot of work." I explained that it is, but it's important that we do this to create community. "You don't have to do this for community," Celeste said. How you have community is you bring many people together, and then they make community. Many people make community without these, he struggled for the word, committees. It was like he was trying to explain to me that 2 + 2 = 4 because that's what 4 is. It doesn't need a committee to become 4, it's just 4. When we first arrived in Kenya 4 years ago, the first thing Celeste did was drive us all to the plaque in the center of his village and haul us all out of the Jeep to stand around it. This plaque marked the death of a white tourist a few years back. We read it. It was in English, and it told the story of a man waking up in the early hours of the morning and heading out for a walk and being mauled by a wild elephant. The plaque, as I read it, was about the dangers of African elephants. Celeste saw the cause of death a little differently, and he explained, "This man had a Maasai guard, like you have a Maasai guard. This man did not listen to his Maasai guard, and he went for a short walk by himself, and then an elephant killed him. When Muzungu people do not listen to their Maasai guard, they die right away." Muzungu is the word that they use for white people. It really came in handy for me. Every time I couldn't see something, like a nest of birds 3 feet from my face that my guide was pointing to, I would point to my eyes and I would go, "Muzungu." Every time I did something stupid, I'd use that word, Muzungu, and they'd all shrug like, "Yeah, what are you going to do?" Being a Muzungu meant that you had to be under constant supervision in case you decided to pet a snake or snuggle a lion cub or something like that. A Muzungu could never be left unattended except in their tent with a guard standing outside to make sure they didn't do something crazy like wake up early and go for a walk. I often wondered about my Maasai guard who followed me everywhere, carrying his spear that to my eyes was basically a pointy stick. His job was to protect me from lions, and he was paid reasonably well for it. At least, reasonably well for a no-lion day. I couldn't shake the feeling that if a lion did approach, his wages would no longer be sufficient for the task of stepping between the lion and me. And I asked Celeste, actually, about this. "How do you know he wouldn't run away?" I said. Celeste looked at me like I had a cabbage for a head. "You're under his protection," Celeste answered. "But he doesn't know me or care about me, so why would he—" "He's Maasai," Celeste answered. "You are under his protection." There was a pause. Then Celeste repeated, "He's Maasai," as though this should settle it. That night, my sleep was interrupted by what I can only describe as a moaning, growling kerfuffle of noises. I was nestled into the tent that I mentioned earlier. It was a very nice tent. The nicest tent I have ever been in. This tent had a flush toilet. It was, though, still a canvas tent. Thicker canvas than in Canada, yes, but not like lion thick level canvas, not even scissors thick level canvas. I tried to tell myself that if I was in the tent, the lions would have no idea I was even there. That required quite a bit of mental discipline to keep believing. And it wasn't just lions that had arrived, by the way. Some other creature was out there, some new African creature I'd never heard before, making this mysterious, bleating, moaning sound like, "Hoo!" And there were the sounds of men, several men, yelling at each other in the local language, and I lay perfectly still inside my tent, the dark inside those canvas walls so absolute that it felt like a damp washcloth covering my face, and I swallowed my terror. In the morning, I learned that the mysterious new animal was, in fact, a cow. I said, "Cows in Canada don't make that noise." And Celeste said, cows in Canada don't get attacked by lions, which was a fair point. The cow had wandered away from the herd in a nearby village, and a team of Maasai men had tracked it. They had found it, but they'd found it at the same time as a lion had found it. And the noises I heard were them stepping between the cow and the lion and shooing it away with their weapons, which, I cannot emphasize enough, were machetes and a pointy stick, used in pitch black. And can I remind you, lions can see in the dark. Lions are afraid of Maasai men, and it eventually retreated. Celeste says this is usually how it goes. Lions are afraid of Maasai. They will kill a Maasai warrior very rarely. Rarely? I repeated, as in not never? Not often, Celeste said, which was just another word for rarely. I couldn't imagine risking my life like that, I said. They are Maasai, Celeste answered, like it was a complete sentence. And then he said, a Maasai cannot give up on his cow. Suddenly it all slid into place. It wasn't just about the one cow. Suddenly my Muzungu eyes could see the big picture. It has been explained to me that the Maasai have survived for centuries through their reputation for bravery, self-sufficiency, and honor. Maasai never give up. And the fact that everyone knows this is one of their greatest assets. The lions did not tangle with the Maasai. The neighboring Kikuyu tribe did not mostly tangle with the Maasai. Even Muzungus did not tangle with the Maasai, and Muzungus tangled with everybody. To be clear, Muzungus did try to tangle with the Maasai, but when they did, the Maasai struck back hard, and then they took their herd of cows and they disappeared into the wilderness before reinforcements could arrive. And so the Maasai were never colonized, an accomplishment for which they are known and admired all over Africa. In modern times, Muzungus are not adversaries exactly. It's complicated. They're a threat in some ways still, but they are also tourists who will bring lots of money, which they'll exchange for a chance to look at wild animals in safety. And so, the Maasai reputation is still a communal asset. The reason my guard would protect me at all costs was because if one Maasai guard let one tourist die, everyone's reputation would suffer. The whole region's economy would be put into jeopardy. Everyone's livelihood and independence was at stake. He will protect me, I said, because I am like a cow to him. Celeste nodded. A Maasai cannot give up his cow because a Maasai cannot give up his reputation, his independence, his Maasai identity, which is how so many generations of his people have survived. My Muzungu eyes were improving. Now I felt a cold knot forming in my stomach, because I wasn't just there as a tourist on safari. I wasn't just there to look at wild animals. I was there working on behalf of a project. The Altumo Well Project began with my home community raising money in partnership with our congregation for a well in Celeste's village. Over time, that well had grown into a garden and a community center. There was a budding relationship between the two communities, and I was there as a part of that relationship to talk to the Maasai about some challenges to their way of life. In recent years, the Kenyan government had divided the land and deeded it to individual Maasai. Now the Maasai couldn't move to chase the rainy season, and this was taking a toll on their livestock, half of which had died in the last year. Also, the Maasai population was growing, and finite land can't sustain a growing population on a livestock-based diet. Add to that the challenges of global warming, and it was clear that the outside world was finally reaching the Maasai, and they needed help in adapting to it. This had sounded so simple back home in Saskatoon. As the saying goes, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. I was here to tell the Maasai they needed new skills and guide them in that transformation. When the task was in front of me, though, it felt totally different. I was just one more white person arriving to tell the Maasai about how they needed to give up their cows and embrace the future. One more colonizer telling them that this time was different, just like every colonizer before me had said. And I was going to say this like I was some sort of expert, shadowed by this Maasai guard who had to follow me everywhere to keep me from posing for Instagram with a snake on my head or something like that. Teach them to fish? What kind of arrogance was that? As we rode to the well site on the day of the big meeting, I felt this feeling of unease in my stomach, and I found myself thinking back to the advice of my friend Mabutsa, hoping to find something to hold on to. Reverend Mbutsa Ndajijimana, who used to be named Fulgence, if you know him by that name and are a bit confused, reminded me so much of my friend Celeste when I first met him. This is a little strange because they are actually from polar opposite backgrounds. Mbutsa went to boarding school, got a university degree, lived in the city, and worked for not-for-profits, in addition to running a church on the side. He founded the Unitarian Church of Bujumbura, and as you heard earlier, when he was forced to leave his country, he started a charity in Canada called Flaming Chalice International to help those he was forced to leave behind. Mbutsa had grown up at the center of colonialism in Africa. Celeste had grown up in one of the last pockets of successful resistance to it. And so they were very different. But even so, the three of us had a meeting before my trip. Mbutsa brought all kinds of experience in not-for-profits and community development and working with groups from many regions of Africa. Celeste brought in-depth knowledge of the Maasai in the region that we were working with. And I know a lot about committee structures and quite a bit about Robert's rules. There are not very many statements that you can make about Africa that are true all over the continent, but not a fan of Robert's rules just might be one. And so I mostly listened. And the meeting that unfolded was nothing like what I was used to. Mbutsa asked question after question, detailed things about everything from how the Maasai chose which hut got built where to the ratio of goats to cows. He frequently expressed admiration for the Maasai, whose spirit is admired all over Africa. But mostly he just listened. And at the end, when asked for advice, Mbutsa said, "The Maasai have always solved their own problems. The most important thing is for the Maasai to continue to understand that they can solve their own problems. The most important thing is to listen and help as you are asked to help in only the ways you are asked to help." I thought about this during the Jeep ride. I thought about it as the women filed in for our meeting, as I cooed at babies and sipped at tea and offered granola bars from my bag. I observed every woman who arrived putting 10 shillings in the coffer. I asked about this through my translator, and I learned that the husbands take the money if women try to save up. So they have an investment club where they pool these tiny amounts to buy one big thing, like a goat for one woman. They each take turns according to their need and situation. It was easy to do, as Mbutsa had said, and express admiration for the ingenuity and the perseverance of these women. It was harder, though, to bring the conversation around to giving up on cows. Especially because even with my Muzungu eyes, I could not escape the clear fact that I was not the person to teach these women to fish. I did not, metaphorically speaking, actually know how to fish. Or literally speaking, really. Then an older woman took a breath to speak. "The cows," she told me, "are not working. There are too many people, and there's not enough land or water. The herds are dying. It's not going to work for much longer to live in this way." Of course they already knew. Of course, Maasai know cows. If my Muzungu eyes could see it, they already knew about it. "We try to sell things at the market," the woman explained, "but we have to borrow what we sell. And that's a very expensive way to run a store. We know how to make beaded jewelry for tourists, but borrowing money for beads is expensive. We know how to make honey, and we have resorts willing to buy from us, but it costs money to make it sanitary for tourists and to package it properly. We need you to talk to the white mothers and ask them to help us." Of course they had a plan. These women already knew how to fish. They just didn't have any fishing rods. The amounts for each project that the women were planning were in the hundreds of dollars. I wrote down their stories, I took their pictures, I ran the simplest and easiest crowdfunding campaign of my life. Westerners were moved by this story, and money poured in, and we took that money and we used it to fund the projects as a microloan, but with a catch. When the loan got paid back, it didn't get paid back to us. It got paid back to the community, and the local council would decide who would borrow the money next and what it would be spent on. In this way, it could transform the whole village by transferring decision-making power about how donor money was spent to the local council. In this way, they didn't give up their cows. Literal cows, sure, but the things that the cows represented, autonomy and ownership, they kept those things. When I was heading over to Africa to do the right thing and teach them to fish, I was demanding an impossible thing of myself. I was trying to be helper before connector. I was trying to act with wisdom that I did not have. Of course I struggled to make good aid decisions in a whole other culture. Of course switching paradigms was a good move. Knowing my place and owning my piece and only my piece was liberating. It felt honest. It was really effective. It didn't come easily to me as a Unitarian Universalist. Our tradition prizes wisdom, but there is so much joy in not needing to be the smartest person in the room. Our tradition prizes collective decision-making and democracy, but I think it's really important to realize the limitations of that model. Not everything is best done by a network of committees. I learned so much working with Mabutsa about how to do aid effectively. And so when he asked me to serve on the founding board of Flaming Chalice International, I said yes immediately. I know how hard it is to spend aid dollars effectively overseas, and I wanted to learn what a Burundian-led organization was going to do. And as the only Canadian-born board member, I have been privileged to witness the tremendous effectiveness of a form of governance that felt very foreign to me at first, and now feels quite common sense. It is streamlined, it's community-oriented, and it takes its cue from the people who are being helped. Most of all, it puts relational trust before organizational and procedural trust, which is very effective. More than once, I have found myself thinking of Salesh shaking his head at the flowchart that I showed him at the new members' orientation. It was all organizational and procedural trust. He said it looked like a lot of work, and he was right. But I didn't know, having only Muzungu eyes to rely on, that there were even any other options. As Unitarian Universalists, we are at a crossroads moment in our history. Our cows, too, are getting thinner. We will need to make some changes. We will need systems that are more streamlined in terms of money and time. As we move forward, I think that strong cross-cultural skills are going to be crucial. The problems of today cannot be solved using only one perspective. We will need a variety of ways of doing things, including some that feel very foreign to us, in order to adapt and to thrive. We will need to work across culture, and I mean culture in the broadest sense. Nationality, sure, and gender and sexual diversity and neurodiversity and all the things that UUs usually list, but not just those things. From my work building a UU organization that looks nothing like a church, I've had to become fluent in content creator culture and business culture and create a church out of nothing culture, which Mabutsa has taught me to do, because that's how it's always done in Africa. I've had to learn over and over again the limitations of what I can see, and I've had to lean on others to teach me. In doing this, my toolkit has expanded so much. When I think of Mabutsa's chalice burning in the dark in Burundian prison, I used to think it meant we didn't forget him. But then he got to Canada, and I saw him taking his turn as the one who remembers others in need. And so for a while, I thought the flaming chalice meant we take turns taking care of one another. And it does mean that, but not just that. Now, the chalice means something different to me, something simpler. It's not about who helps who or not forgetting each other. At least it's not just about those things. It's an honoring of the law of the world, of a truth which is that our interconnections are our strength. Our diversity is strength. We will draw on that strength to face problems we've never faced before. We will do that drawing on a diverse toolkit that draws from diverse perspectives, recognizing that our power comes from the ways that we are interconnected, and leaning into the reality of that interconnection and moving forward in new ways. I think my Muzungu eyes are improving.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we'll lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
In the story for all ages, I told the story of Reverend Fulgence Ndagijimana being imprisoned in Burundi, and about him sitting in his cell holding the image of the flaming chalice in his mind to remind himself he wasn't forgotten. What I didn't talk about as much is about how when he came to Canada, he became one of the ones in charge of not forgetting others. There were many people in his church and community who were persecuted. It wasn't just him. And now they were scattered in other locations across neighboring countries. You're in a congregation, you can imagine what that would feel like if you were safe, but the others from your community were in terrible and dangerous conditions. The flaming chalice burning in a person's mind to give them hope when things are hard is a two-part equation. It also needs to burn in the mind of the people who haven't forgotten you. So Fulgence made a Canadian charity called Flaming Chalice International, and many of us came together to donate to his cause as he worked around the clock to keep people alive and safe, find them sponsorships into new countries. I have worked with refugee causes a lot in my life, and something people don't realize is it's very hard to spend money well. There are a lot of judgment calls to make. And what I noticed in watching Fulgence, I'm on the board of FLI, is that every dollar he spent was like 6 times as effective as money I would have spent. He knew exactly what was needed, and also because the people being settled were from a community, they arrived and got jobs quickly as they could. They spent very little because they knew what they didn't spend would go for the next person. I have gone to the work of making this service and bringing it to you because I have seen amazing things happen in this organization. Of all the money I have donated in my life, the money that has gone to Flaming Chalice International has been the money that has made the most difference. FLI no longer just does sponsorships. Sponsorship is, after all, not an ideal solution. People want to stay in their home communities, and the best projects focus on helping them thrive while doing just that. So FLI has moved into community development. That would be things similar to the projects I described in the sermon. Here again, Fulgence's experience with NGOs, as well as history of being a part of the communities that he's helping, has proved invaluable. His work is strategic and grounded in relationship, and I've asked him to choose one of FLI's projects to tell you about, but you can read about all of them on the organization's website, flaminginternational.org.
Now, there's a project which is very close to my heart. You see, I have been in exile for the last 6 years. During those 6 years, both my parents died. And the last one to go is my mom, who passed away this past July. It was a difficult time And after several months, I slowly came back to life. And I kept asking myself, what can I do to replace this sadness by a positive action? After consultation, we came up with the idea of providing water to the village in which my mom lived for 7 decades. You see, women are the ones who get water to their families. In that village, they have to walk 4 kilometers one way to get water. And so I have taken up this project, which will serve that village, 3 surrounding villages, and a school of 600 kids. Today, I want to ask you to support that project as you are able. This project will change lives. We have a positive impact on so many people, and we help the community, especially the women members of the community, to do other things and to use their time for other productive activities instead of walking long distances to get water. I thank you for your generous support, and I thank you for having been part of the work that Framing Choice International has been doing, both with refugees and with communities in East Africa. Thank you.
Yeah.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we shield the power of each other's faith, and our heart is in a holy place, then our heart is in a holy place, then our heart is in a holy place.
Liz James writes, "The thing that I don't understand is this. How a person arrives in a strange country with nothing but their clothes and a passport in the dead of Canadian winter, struggling to learn to communicate in what will be his fourth language, trying to figure out everything from how to use the bus to how to earn a living. And that person thinks to himself, oh, what I'm going to do is create a charity to do refugee support and international development. I understand why a person would do that, but I don't understand how a person does that." When I asked Mubutsa about this, he told me about one of his favorite quotes from St. Francis of Assisi. "Start by doing what is necessary, then what is possible. Soon you will be doing the impossible." This is our wish for you this week from Liz and Reverend Mubutsa and all of us at the Canadian Unitarian Council. We wish for an expanding sense of what is possible, created by the act of each of us, just doing the next right things. Together, we create hope as we work toward a more peaceful world, an equitable world, a just world. Now, together, let's extinguish our chalices. We each now carry the spirit of the flame within us, and we help one another to keep it alight.
There are days when you're tending the embers, when the flame flickers down to a spark, when the shadows grow long in your wilderness, when it's hard to be strong, just remember this. Keep it alight, keep it alight, the light of love that shines inside you. Keep it alight, burning and bright. Keep it alight, keep it alight, keep it alight, keep it alight. Keep it alight, keep it alight, keep it alight, keep it alight. There's a flame that sustains love and justice. Everyone holds it here in the heart. It can carry us through from birth till death. It is kindled anew with every
inside me.